Because of a viral outbreak, a convoy of buses is transporting people from the cities to a quarantine area called Harmony. Suddenly, the convoy stops before reaching the gate, and a soldier gets off the bus to see what's going on. After a few minutes, an officer in the back tries to contact the soldier but gets no response, so he decides to go after him. But after he walks for a bit, the soldier appears and bites him on the neck. The injured soldier rushes back onto the bus, and Jack and Patrick push him outside immediately. Once the injured soldier disappears, Jack decides to go grab the dead officer's weapon. Suddenly, the dead soldier comes back to life and attacks him. Jack can shoot zombies, but he spots some wounded soldiers coming, so he hides under the bus quickly. Patrick is trying to shut the door while people inside the bus start panicking and trying to escape through the back. Zombies are getting into the bus fast through the door and windows, getting anyone they can reach. Patrick is trying to get to his wife, Amma, but the bus shakes when a zombie lunges at him. He smashes the zombie's head against the bus until it dies. Not far away, Emma is holding her baby tightly, hiding from the zombies. Later, she jumps into an SUV thinking she's safe, but suddenly a zombie appears and grabs her as she's trying to get away from the guy. A zombie pops up again, trying to smash the glass in front to get to her. Luckily, Jack shows up and takes out the zombie. Emma is shaking, covered in blood, but Jack and Patrick don't see any wounds on her. After a bit, they find out the blood is from Emma, who got bitten on her arm. Fast forward 9 years, and we see Patrick walking through the deserted town, freezing cold, looking for food. After he shoots a horse, he drags the body back on his sled and quietly takes it home. If you're watching Patrick from the window of the nearby house, you tell Jack that he killed another animal. While Patrick is cooking up the horse meat at his place, Jack is next door. He opens a can of fava beans and luckily finds another clean can. That night, he tries to reach out to 2 other guys on the radio, but no one answers, so he's just at home by himself, pretending he has a guest. Then he uses his binoculars to watch Jack as he tucks her in, telling her goodnight and hoping she can hear him. In the morning, Jack wakes up and looks around the bed but doesn't see her, so he rushes to the kitchen. She's there, busy making breakfast without saying anything, and she's trying not to wake him up. But Jack reminds her that there are rules they have to follow, and when he hands her a biscuit, she hides it in her forehead and asks for another one, and in the house next door, Patrick wakes up to the sound of his dog barking, so he opens the door to let it out. If you get close to the dog by the fence, it starts eating a biscuit, and when the dog runs to the other side of the fence, you find out it managed to dig a hole to squeeze through. Later that day, Jack teaches her how to hit without relying on her fingers, and then he goes outside to shoot at an empty can. If she plays with her dolls and asks if she can try shooting, he refuses to let her hold a gun, especially when she complains she's too old for playing with dolls. So she asks Jack to hang out with her, and while he's having a good time with her, he sees Patrick coming back from a supply run but doesn't go over to say hi. That night, Jack gives him a box with some gifts from his mom, and she asks what's the occasion before he can even tell her. There's a birthday song playing on Patrick's sound system, and Patrick baked a cake for Lou, but he can't bring it to her because of the fight he's having with Jack. So he lets the dog eat it. Meanwhile, Lou is asking Jack what birthday parties were like before the end of the world, and Jack says there were other kids at the parties too, but Lou. She doubts what he says because she's never seen other kids in her life. If you notice, she doesn't even remember seeing her mom because she was so young. Later, she asks if zombies are really a thing, and Jack explains that they used to exist a long time ago, but died from the cold. Then at night, if she's asleep, everything's fine, but Jack can't sleep because of the loud music blasting from Patrick's speakers. Later, if she wakes up from a nightmare when she hears a dog barking, she looks out the window and sees a zombie with a pale face outside the fence. In the morning, Jack finds her hiding under the bed, refusing to come out. When he joins her under the bed, she reveals that she saw the monster last night. He thinks it's just a nightmare, but if you explain that she saw the zombie after she woke up, Jack still can't believe it. He tells her all the zombies died because of the cold weather. Later that day, if she puts a stuffed toy next to the hole in the fence, hoping it'll keep the monsters out. When Patrick sees her by the fence, He realizes she must be the one feeding his dog biscuits and worries the dog might get sick. Suddenly, Jack bursts out of the house and tells Patrick to stay away from her and avoid talking to her. Then he threatens to shoot his dog if it keeps barking, and Patrick tells him to shut up while he pushes through. Patrick is rummaging through a storage room, remembering the time he was there with Emma when they caused a huge commotion. Emma got annoyed and told him to shut up so the zombies wouldn't come after them. He shot back, asking if she'd said the same to Jack when he cheated on her. Patrick sees his fiancée and thinks she might like it if he takes something off the shelf. While he's still searching, he notices blood from animal remains all over the floor. A few moments later, a wild zombie appears and starts chasing him. He and his dog quickly bolt out of the storage room. As Patrick locks the door behind him, he secures the zombie inside. When he starts up his ice cream truck, the zombie bangs on it. At the door, Patrick is trying to leave, and he keeps looking back to see if the zombie is chasing him while he's driving fast. He crashes because he wasn't paying attention and fails to notice a tree that fell in front of him. Meanwhile, Jack decides to teach him how to shoot a gun, mentioning that when you shoot, the recoil pushes you back. She tells Jack that she enjoyed doing it. Back to Patrick. We find that the zombie has reached him while he's still on the ground, but the zombie doesn't notice him. It seems blind. Then the zombie runs away when it hears a gunshot from far away, so Patrick chases after it immediately. Inside the house, Jack sees a rabbit outside the fence and tries to shoot it. Before he can pull the trigger, he hears a gunshot and sees Patrick coming after he tells Jack to get home quickly. Patrick runs over the zombie with the ice truck, but falls while trying to reach for his weapon. The zombie attacks him, and Jack tells her to shoot the monster, but Jack says she should go inside and shut the door. While Patrick struggles to avoid getting bitten, Jack aims his gun at the zombie but hesitates to pull the trigger. After a bit, the zombie overpowers Patrick and bites his neck, and the dog attacks the zombie, but the savage creature takes down the dog and bites its neck. After that, the zombie runs off when Patrick. He grabs his gun and shoots it, and at the same time, Jack is running away and heading home. When he gets there, he finds Patrick mad at him for not shooting the zombie before it killed his dog outside. Patrick's crying over his dog and yelling at him for trying to be a hero. When he gets back home, he pours alcohol on his wound and almost shoots himself, collapsing on the floor after remembering how Emma encouraged him to cut off her injured arm, with Jack holding her. As Patrick comes to, he hears someone trying to reach him over the radio. He quickly tells the guy that the zombie's back and realizes he's been bitten, explaining it was from this morning. The guy says he might not turn into a zombie because for a long time, Patrick keeps promising he's going to get out and kill zombies. But then his voice cuts off and he claims the creature isn't responsible for what happened to him. Later, he says his neighbor was supposed to help him, and the next day, Jack locks up the house, hoping Patrick will finally turn into a zombie. But she tells him that Patrick wasn't even hurt and yells at Jack because he didn't believe her about the monster she saw last night. Jack tries to calm her down and offers her some cookies, but then she finds out the second cookie was for the dog. After that, she says she wants to pick some flowers for her mom outside without... You have to ask for permission, but Jack says that's not possible because the zombie came back. When Jack goes outside to pick some flowers, he finds his bride on the ground and realizes Patrick brought her there. That day, the voice on the radio starts encouraging Patrick to kill Jack, and when Patrick refuses, the voice criticizes him for being upset about Jack, especially since he let Emma die. Later that night, Jack comes back and tells her he only found fake flowers to put half in front of her mom's picture. Then she shows up with a gun and sneaks through the hole in the fence to put the other half on the dog's grave. Jack immediately comes out when he sees her. She's heading to the grave, laying down flowers through the fence when a zombie gets close. She tries to shoot the thing, but the gun slips out of her hands. Jack takes out the zombie quickly, and they deal with it. But then the zombie scratches his chest, and he keeps moving until he stops. While Jack is focused on that, Patrick shows up with a gun but takes out the zombie behind Jack instead. Later that night, Jack can't find her in bed, so he goes outside to look for her when suddenly a zombie attacks. This one is stuck to the ground and has its arms cut off. Patrick appears and reveals that zombies are evolving because they can close up their wounds and have thick skin that can take a beating. Patrick says they've got a shot at fighting because the zombies aren't infectious anymore, and they can't see. If you try to leave Patrick's house, Jack just takes you straight to his place. Later, if you call Patrick on the radio inviting him to dinner the next night, he gets really excited. So, Patrick shaves his beard and styles his hair to get ready for dinner. The next night, Patrick shows up with some meat for Jack, and Jack plans to give the bride back to Patrick so he can do it himself. When she goes down, you can really see how different Patrick looks without his beard and long hair during dinner, especially if she's playing with the bride. The girl smiles and asks Patrick how he knew she wanted to play that kind of game. Patrick says he just felt like she'd like it because he used to like her when he was younger. When Patrick tells her what he did as a kid, you can tell he was luckier since he got to play with other kids. She expresses her sadness because she can only play with dolls. After she falls asleep, Patrick reveals he's planning to fix the truck so they can leave, but Jack insists on staying despite Patrick warning him that zombies are coming. Patrick assures him that Jack has been so focused on survival that he forgot how to actually live. Jack then asks Patrick why the place is still a mess, and Patrick keeps glancing at Lo to make it obvious he's still there because of her. After Patrick heads home, Jack sits next to Lo, remembering the day Emma died. He found Patrick passed out on the floor and the baby crying in the crib. When Patrick asked about Emma, Jack snapped at him, saying he let her die. Then Jack took the baby and told Patrick he wasn't Lo's dad anymore. Later that night, Lo wakes up from a nightmare, and Jack thinks she dreamed about monsters, but she realizes Jack died in her dream, leaving her all alone. The next morning, Jack and Lo decide to leave the house and go with Patrick. The three of them leave Harmony and stop by the storage unit to grab their stuff. After grabbing some supplies, Patrick gets out of the truck and remembers the day he left Emma alone outside the store just to have a drink because he was jealous of Jack. At that moment, Emma was inside the truck crying, and sadly, the zombies showed up and attacked her. After they grab some supplies, the three of them head back to the truck, but they spot a woman in the distance. When Patrick approaches her, she's hysterical, so he holds her hand until she calms down. Instead of continuing their journey, the three of them take her home with them. Later that night, when she wakes up, she tells them that she and her daughter had locked themselves in their house during the outbreak, and after a year, they decided to venture out. In the north, a woman shares that she had accepted a guy, fell in love, and got pregnant, but the guy never found out he was going to be a dad. She explains that they joined a group to reach the valley, but everyone died in a zombie attack except for her. Suddenly, she hears a zombie moaning nearby, grabs a gun, and runs outside to shoot it. Then she warns Patrick that this is how they call out to each other. After a bit, they hear more zombies moaning from a distance, so they quickly lock up the house and grab their weapons. When the zombies arrive, Jack goes down to the basement and tells her to avoid making any noise as she moves around. She's facing a zombie but manages to hide by staying quiet. After a bit, more creatures start coming into the house. A zombie chases Jack upstairs, and he runs into the room, but drops his weapon while trying to keep the creature out. In the basement, she hides her doll in a box and puts a lantern on top to make noise. The creature leaps into the box because of the sound, so she quickly slams it shut and holds the lid while the zombie's upstairs. Jack sees another zombie trying to get in through the window. He grabs his gun and shoots at the creature at the door, trying to take down the other one, but runs out of ammo, so he stays quiet to avoid drawing attention. While Patrick is dealing with a zombie under the stairs, a woman is blasting loud music to drown out the sounds that bother sensitive ears. Then, when she comes out of the basement, she tells Patrick there's a monster down there, and he tells her to hang out in the room where she keeps her radio. Meanwhile, Patrick and the others are handling the zombie inside, and she hears a woman trying to get through to them. When the generator runs out of gas, the music stops, and the team realizes they don't have enough ammo. You might catch that the woman on the radio told her to go to the spring falls before the lights go out, just as the creatures start coming into the house. Patrick tells Jack that he's going to lie to the zombies to let them escape. After he kisses Lou and sells her out, He ignites a flame and grabs Jack's gun. As Patrick heads out, he fights off a zombie while yelling to get the attention of the other creatures. When Jack and the others reach the truck, Patrick runs toward the gas barrels just as a monster attacks him. He quickly sets the spilling gasoline on fire, killing himself and the zombies in the explosion. The group leaves Harmony, Jack, Lou, and the woman standing by the side of the road to watch the sunrise. That's the end of the movie, and we'll meet again in a new recap. Thanks for watching.